Welcome to Hella Vella, Airik's first three Vella reviews. I am your host, Airik Eisen, and this is Azriel Lawless. And today we're speaking with Julie C. Gilbert, the Blurb Queen, about her book called Trials, Tribulations, and Trust Issues, a superhero saga. Just so you know, these episodes are longish, so be prepared whenever you're whenever you're reading. Now, Julie, do you have other Vella offerings as well?
I do. I have, I think 9 in total now.
Oh, excellent.
I have 2 nonfictions. One is Dear Anne, that's about teaching. One is about dialogue. That one's complete. It's only 20 episodes long, but they vary in length. Like actually, I think some of the episodes are much longer than even Trials. Assassin School is a thriller. And Trials is 26, but that's ongoing, so it comes out every other day.
Oh, cool.
The every other day one is Airiks Legends. That one's 40 plus and ongoing.
Wow.
I have Earth's Melody, which is a new release, but it was actually pre-written. It was co-written with Julie Hinton, and it was based off of her screenplay. So I had adapted that a couple years ago, and finally we're putting it in the Vella format. So that one is coming out daily. Most by chapters, so it's actually 1 or 2 episodes depending on how big that actual chapter was.
Right.
And the Minder Project was one of my first ones. That one's about 20, but it's between seasons. I don't have the bandwidth to continue that one at this second. Christmas Shorts was meant to be a series of short stories, but I actually only got the first one done, so I marked that complete, and I will hopefully write more Christmas Shorts later, but have them be their own Vellas, their own short stories, because I realized my original plan for it wasn't going to work because I had too many genres, because I was basing it off of characters from other stories I'd written. So this one was the Christian mystery, but some of the others might be just a normal thriller or more of a paranormal mystery or something. And then the last one is Devious Children, Dustin's Decision. That's actually a book 5, but it does stand alone and it is complete. And that one, I think, again, has the larger sort of episodes because I didn't break it up specifically for Vella. I just left it. If it was 2,100 words as a chapter, it would just stay that way as an episode. So some of those are on the much longer side. I would say Trials is on the more reasonable side, but they are still about 10 to 12 tokens. So that's 1,000 to 1,200 words.
I guess they're not as long as they originally thought. Anyway, all right, that's awesome. Thank you for that. And fair warning, the first 3 is kind of spoilery. For the most of these, I've only read the first 3 chapters, so maybe not as spoilery as it would be if I had read the whole thing. I have read a couple of offerings from Julie as well on top of this one. Now, could you tell our audience a little bit about your Vella and what drove you to write it?
This one, Trials, Tribulations, and Trust Issues, I took a long time with that title. I had to bounce like a dozen ideas off of my cover artist. She's been very good about it. This one came out of the fact that I ask my students random questions. I'm a high school teacher normally, so I teach chemistry. And I ask them random questions because I kind of want them to read a letter that says, hey, here's when you have a test, here's when you have a lab. So to get them to read that letter, I asked them random questions. One of the random questions was, what would you like to have as a superpower? And a lot of them answered flight, a lot of them answered super speed, teleporting, reading people's minds. So I was going through their reasoning and I was arguing in my head with a lot of their reasoning, or being like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So because I was essentially reviewing their thoughts and feelings in my head, I decided, hey, I'm all about these Vellas right now. I'm going to sit down and start reviewing some superpowers. So that's what the original premise was just review superpowers. But then as I sat down to do that, I'm also a storyteller. So I really love the idea of, you have to have a reason behind who's doing what and why. So that's where Jess came about, and what would make somebody want to review a bunch of superpowers. That's where the story came from.
Excellent. Sounds like a lot of work, actually.
Yes.
All right. Now, well, you told us a little bit about Jess, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Now, we're going to switch this around because this is a review. We'll have Azriel ask me some questions, so you can kind of think about, you also get 2 questions at the end. They can be anything you want to ask me about your Vellas or whatever. That's completely up to you. Azriel, it's oh, you're on. You have you're muted. As you're muted.
So once again, you you read the first 3 of Trials, Tribulations, and Trust Issues, right?
Yes.
But you said that you also read some other of her works. Can you remember which ones they were?
Well, I have read the prequel to her series. I can't remember the name right offhand for some reason. She has, the Assassins series. And I read probably the first half of her dialogue book.
Oh, very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, that perked my ears right up when she mentioned that of her 900 Vellas, or however many she's got up there.
She does have a lot.
She do. Well, let's focus then on Trials, Tribulations, and Trust Issues. What was your favorite part of the 3 episodes you read?
It's more of parts, really. I like how she dissected each. Well, basically, goes in, she talks about different superpowers, and she dissects them, how they would work and how fun they are, and what wouldn't work about them, and the drawbacks, which is amazing because I love that sort of stuff. But probably my favorite part is where she was talking about super speed, and she was talking about how you always see these superheroes running into a burning building, and it's like, if you don't have the upper body strength and the stamina, you're not going to get that person out. And you just, what are you going to do? Throw them over your shoulder, and you just kind of like fall down before you get out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really liked that.
So practical considerations,
Yeah, for sure.
definitely. Well, what did or didn't work in the small sampling that you had?
Well, what worked was I'm a super nerd when it comes to dissecting tropes and things like that, and and from what I read, it's kind of like sounds like she is as well. So all that little stuff that she worked out, and I thought it was great.
Oh, that's cool. So overall rating, if you were to give her from 1 to 5, 1 being the low end of the scale, 5 being the upper end, what would you give this Trials, Tribulations, and Trust Issues?
I would definitely rate it a 5, especially if you're into dissecting analytical dissection of superpowers, because it's stuff that you don't really think about a lot. It's like, she was talking about how her students were like, oh, I want flight, I want super speed, I want teleportation. And I'm actually going to go and read the teleportation episode, because that's actually my favorite superpower. But,
Right, that's pretty cool. Yeah. But yeah, that's definitely rife with its own possible nightmarish.
oh yeah,
ends.
I can imagine. Just like, oh, I left my nose behind. Where did that go?
Or, oh my goodness, I reconstituted myself around a tree. What?
Right.
What am I going to do
Or in a
now?
wall. That's
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, very cool. So an overall rating of 5. So you definitely recommend to others.
oh yeah.
And so then on an interesting to read meter, 1 again being the low end of the scale, 10 being the upper end of the scale, what would you give this one?
Definitely a 10. It was I did have a lot of fun reading it. And I will read more of it.
Very cool. I'm sure that's what every Vella author wants to hear. We need them read throughs, people. We need you to get out those coins and those keys. So let's see. All right. Well, I guess then the last thing I have to ask you, because Julie gets 2 questions that are not on this list anywhere. She gets 2 questions of you. So I want to save room for that.
She's gonna throw me some curveballs probably.
I don't know, man. She can only ask the first 3 episodes worth. That's
true. That's true.
only fair. That's only fair. But the last thing I wanted to know was, I know that you're really into having bits of lore in your fantasy books. And so what were your favorite bits of lore in what you read?
I love how the superpowers are hidden from the rest of the world. Like the average normal person doesn't know superpowers exists. And I thought of several different scenarios where that would be really hard for the government to explain without that knowledge. Like, if you ever watch Marvel, the basically flattening of New York in the first Avengers movie, what would the government do to explain that? Like freak hurricane or
Yeah, that'd be rough.
But yeah, that's that's my favorite bit of lore, is how people just, I mean, these huge major events happen and people are like, oh yeah, that was Hurricane Abby, yeah, and
Yeah.
just think it would be funny.
Well, so I guess I'm going to have a good listen to what Julie would like to ask you. So that's all I had to ask you.
All right.
Hey, well, my 2 questions are really, really similar. So I'm firing both, and then you can answer one or both, and I'll give you a follow-up one if you need it.
Okay.
Which of her family powers do you find the most interesting? So I think her mom had super speed, her dad had underwater breath, her brother, one of them has super strength, and the other one can change the molecular structure of stuff.
Oh, that's a difficult one. I like super speed, but I like the changing of the molecular structure of stuff. I think that's pretty cool, because like, I mean, you can change anything into anything else. I mean, like, I need a glass of orange juice. I only have lemonade. So poof, it's now orange juice. Yeah, I'd love that.
Cool. The other question, which was very similar, is which of Jess's powers would you have wanted? So that she only lists a few of them. She does not list her entire repertoire, but she lists mimicry, gift transference, power suppression, advanced self-healing, immortality, and shape-shifting.
As a superhero, I think power suppression would be the most useful. Mostly because here's, superhero, supervillain. Oh, you have cool powers? No, you don't.
Yes, there's that. That would be rather fun. Like off, on, off, on, off.
And you could have no other power but power suppression. You just kind of like walk in and be like, all right, you're suppressed, you're suppressed, you're suppressed. All of you guys take care of it now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that power is pretty cool.
I do have to explain that one yet. I don't think it's been done yet. But actually, part of the reason you had mentioned earlier, I don't know, on screen, off screen, that you would have loved to see it be journal entry, power journal entry. I didn't know if I had enough journal entries. So that's why it was doubled up on superpowers.
Right. I understand that.
Now I'm lost, guys. What are you talking about? Journal entries. I have not read the first 3.
The format of the story, it has 2 types of episodes. The first type of episode is labeled as a journal entry, and that is essentially her story. So Jess is telling what happened to her, why it happened, how it happened, and how she's reacting to it. It's her telling her own story. And then the job portion of this is the normal superpower reviews. I think they're just called superpower reviews, and then they're numbered.
Yeah.
So those are individually about, everything about super speed will be in one episode. Everything about suppression will be in a different episode. And there are little bits of lore and story in each episode, so it kind of helps if you read them in order. But honestly, Vella's all about, one of the cool things about Vella's in general is the ability to experiment with different types of storytelling. So
Right.
this is one of my experiments in the sense that if you want to just read her story, you could just follow the journal entries roughly every 3rd episode.
Wow, that's cool.
It
Did you
still
use
makes
italics
sense.
or whatever to differentiate?
No, they're just literally different episodes.
Okay.
And then the superpower ones, as Airik was saying, he wants to check out Teleportation. He doesn't have to read from here to here. He could just pull up whatever episode number that is and be like, I'm going to read about teleportation today. And that's one of the other experiments, is writing something that's not fully connected to each other.
Not critically connected to each other.
No, I mean, there are little bits, but you could probably still follow the main story without having read every single one of the reviews.
That's very cool.
Oh, I also see Mimic on here. I'm probably going to read that one too, at least those 2. Probably all of them, but at least those 2.
So if I'm understanding right, and this is for everybody who's listening to this video, who's not exactly looking at this serial. So this is a serial about a superhero who has superpowers, and she is what, grading herself on these powers, or?
She's actually reviewing them for an evil corporation, a shell company for the United States government. And it's basically, as Airik was saying, it's a conspiracy across the world to suppress the knowledge of superpowers existing. But this is their next phase. They want to basically commercialize superpowers in general. So they want to know what's safe to give to the general public. So a lot of the episodes just end with like, yeah, give it to the public, it's fine. Or like, no, just don't give this to people. Are you out of your minds?
Wow.
So the rest of the review is all about her rhyme and reason behind why she thinks this is a great one for the public or not a great one for the public.
Oh, I like that. I do like that.
Yeah.
Go shopping for a superpower.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, no, there was something I was going to add to that and it completely slipped my mind. Oh well. Anyway, it's great. Like I said, the only thing that I would have done differently, and it's completely understand that why you didn't do it that way, but I would have 2 journal entries in the first 3 to kind of pull them into the story. But if you're like me, I'm also okay with having the 2 power explanations because I love that stuff.
Certain ones actually do certain journal entries. I was going for the perfect pattern of 1 journal entry, 2 reviews, 1 journal entry. And then I got to 1 journal entry that was essentially half an episode. And I was like, I can't do this. So I ended up making that 2 journal entries in a row. So that does happen. It just didn't happen within the first 3.
All right. Did you have any questions for her, Azrael?
No, I didn't. I just wanted to learn what you guys knew, and I wanted to see Julie and hang out with you guys and just glom on and ask a couple questions. like, I represent the clueless among us. So,
That works.
which is who we want to target because we need more readers.
Awesome. Yep. Everybody needs more readers.
So no, I don't have any questions, Julie. It's really cool. This seems like a really cool serial.
Thank you.
It is very cool.
A lot of fun to write.
All right. Now, all of Julie's Vellas are going to be linked below. So you can go and check that out. If you want more from me, you can check into one of my 6 offerings, my psychological horror Jacked, my urban fantasy, The Fearless Adept, my dark fantasy, Maiden Bloom, Age of Myths, Book 1, any of the anthologies I did, seasons 1 through 3, and actually Julie is in season 2. And she's part of the Vellans Florilegium. If you are interested in becoming a Vellans writer, you can find us on Facebook by searching the words Vellans, or you can check out our website, vellans.com. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking with us, Julie. And
Okay,
I
my
think
pleasure.
that is the end of the episode.
Sounds great.
Bye.